back
And
in.
everything that you ever
What did I
used
do?
in the game,
Wait.
all the objects.
Alright.
So,
Alright, sorry for the delay of getting started for those of you on Facebook and in the room. Just trying to get the technology worked out. For those of you who obviously know me, I'm April. And for those whom I haven't met before,
hello.
Well, thank you for coming and watching. One of the things about me is I like things that are easy. I like things that are easy and quick and don't cost a lot of money is always a good thing. And so when I found Oxygen for WordPress, I was pretty excited about it. I had used page builders before, and one of the things that I didn't like about page builders is that they're built on top of the theme, which means that there are still elements of the theme that you can't directly control without either building a child theme or like digging into the CSS and other ways to like make adjustments. So for example, I have a blog up right now. I can't stand my header, but every attempt that I've made, both with a child theme as well as just going into the alternate CSS panel, I can't get it where I want it to be. And I find that really frustrating because it's my site and I can't change that one little thing. Yeah. So the thing with Oxygen is that it's not a page builder, it's a site builder. It literally disables the themes and you design your site from the ground up, top to bottom. Now they have tools and aspects within it that do simplify that process, such as templates and like design pages and stuff that you can just toss in there and put together like literally a 2 or 3 page website with like 20 minutes just by throwing in their pre-made stuff and changing out some colors and some texts. But at the same time, you can start with a blank slate and build it exactly the way you want it. And it does come fully responsive out of the box. It has Flexbox features built in, and most of them are visual, so you can just click that you want it to be a column and set your justified content to center, or your align content to center, or a flex start, whatever, and it'll make those adjustments for you. And then it also allows you to select the screen size. There's a drop-down menu, and I believe there's a way to customize the screen sizes, but they do give pretty standard sizes in there. And any of the changes that you make while you're in that view will only take effect from that view and lower. So you can go into your page and readjust your settings for your mobile views. And then if you need to go to the next size down and make maybe that font just a little bit smaller, you just click the next size down, and I'll walk through all of that in the actual back end of Oxygen too. So it's really nice, the responsivity, as well as the advanced functionality that's there as far as like animations, repeaters. When you're building your header, they have a header builder. You can set it up and make it opaque so that if you have a photo behind it, then it'll just show up with the transparent behind it. I set mine up so that it layers on itself so that I have a mobile view, because I didn't like the way that the header automatically, where it set the menu, put it into the middle as the hamburger in the middle when it went to the responsive mobile, and I didn't like that. So I redesigned it, and basically my mobile header lives behind my, not on this side, on a different site. My mobile header lives behind my main header, and then as soon as I drop to a certain size on my screen, that one disappears and this one shows. So it kind of allows me to, even within the header builder, by layering in that way, I can make those adjustments that I need to make it exactly what I want it to be. And then there's great support. Their website, I originally was going to set this up so that I was going to walk through like how to build the first 3 pages. But I realized that their website has so many great videos and walkthroughs already that I would highly encourage anybody who's interested in checking the product out that you just go visit their website and walk through. They go through all the steps on every aspect. Their documentation is great. They also have a really active Facebook group filled with a lot of people who love this product and are more than happy to step in. I've had a couple of spots where I got stuck, and when I toss out a question, it gets answered pretty quickly. And thus far, I've not been able to find an answer. So always a bonus. So I just put together this site real quickly. This was all using their templated pages, and I'll show you where that is real quick. So they have a library, and you can grab elements out of that library and then make adjustments as you want. So we're just going to kind of play around, and I'll show you some of the main features. It is so rich and so deep, like you can get very granular with the choices and the things that you do within here. I could never show you all in one presentation. So we're going to do just a rundown of what the back end looks like. So here's that same page in our back end. We've got all of the features here. The pieces that I can't edit from this particular page is going to be my header, because that's a template. And I set that template up, and then I made another template for my pages that automatically inherits my header and footer on every page. So if I wanted to go in and change anything on my header or my footer, I would have to exit this page and go into that template to make those changes. But then it would take effect everywhere that the header and footer is within my site. So if you look at this, you've got your great tools for your startup, and across the top, I keep feeling like I need to show you my screen. Across the top, just a rundown of what the back end has. Obviously your save button and your add button when you want to add elements. And then the structure is really nice, because the structure is the structure of this site. So there's certain elements sometimes that get buried in there a little bit, and they're hard to grab with the mouse, so you can go over to the structure and go ahead and select that element directly, and then you can see that my text box is now highlighted, and I have that access that I can go in and make, and all of the settings that are for that are here on this side. So the structure panel is really nice to be able to go in. You can see there's the little pluses. It's going to open up and tell you what's in there, and if there's anything further, you can open it all the way down. And then one of the other really great features is that it has global settings. So you can globally set your colors, your fonts, your headings, like the sizes, the weights, everything that you want for your headings, your body text, your links. If you know you want none of your links to ever have decoration on them, you can go into your global settings and set that. And so then when you put links into your the body of your site, you won't have to worry about going in and making those changes. They'll just be taken a hold. So these are just things that if you want it to be site-wide, you can do them over here in the global settings. So like for example, if I went into my global colors right now, I'm using the atomic colors because that's what was on this. And if I replaced this with, say, black, throughout my entire site, everything that was labeled with that color will now be black. So I can literally, with one little click, change the whole color scheme of my whole site. And then change it back if I change my mind. So when we're looking at, this section here, I've got it's set up as 2 divs when you look at the structure. It's actually columns, and then within that column it has the 2 divs. And one, of course, is just an image. I think. Actually, I'm not sure why that came in, but again, I didn't build these pages. So if you want to change your text, you just double click on it. You can go in and start changing everything right there. And if you want to change your text color, that's right here. And then so those are kind of the common ones. If you want to change your family, your text, your size, your weight, etc. And then the advanced is back here. And you can change if you want a background on it, if you want an overlay color, anything that you want to do in regards to the background size. So if you're going to do a photograph, you can set it to cover and have it cover the whole thing. So all of those settings that you would make within like your CSS, it's all here. And if there's something for some reason that you just can't quite find in here, they have a box for you to add your own custom CSS. So you can go in and add what it was that you couldn't find or wasn't working quite the way you wanted. And then the other feature is that you can set up classes on each of these, so that when you have repeating elements, collapse this out. So when you have repeating elements like these icons, if you set the information on the class, then anytime you make a change, it'll change it to everything that has that class category. So you can automatically change all 3 of those icon colors with just one click. Yeah.
Are those icons already included, or
yes, it comes loaded with linear icons, which is what I used here, and Font Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also load in your own as well. Same with style sheets. If you have a style sheet that you just always have features and aspects that you use on it, you can load it in, and it'll just go into under your manage. It'll be listed in your style sheets, and you can just enable it, and you'll have access to all of those. Just set the classes and IDs that you need to be able to access all of those selectors. Yeah.
Do you still have access to Grid or no?
This one isn't set up with Grid, it's set up with Flexbox. So I personally haven't used Grid, so I'm not sure if there's a way to like put it in and implement it custom or otherwise, but I'm the most familiar with Flexbox, so that works great for me. And I actually left this here. I did not optimize this for mobile yet because I wanted to show you, this is where when you go down, you can start setting your pages. So they have like a standard computer size, like a smaller one, and then a tablet that's been put lengthwise, and then more of a tablet straight up and down, and then your phones. So if you go to like a tablet size, you can see that the picture, I don't know, it's actually kind of fine. I think when I went to the phone one, it was looking a little bit small. Look at that, it's actually all right. But if I wanted to go in here and I wanted to set, let's say I wanted it to be a little bit taller, then I could just go to the size and spacing. I could put a max height and just say, or just change the height to, let's say I wanted to change it to like 500 pixels instead and make it bigger. You can also, when you select here, there's percentages, EMs, auto, VW, VH, so whatever your preference is for setting any of those widths, heights, etc., they're all accessible there. If you decide you don't like it, you just take it back and so that's kind of the basic. You can see here there's all your padding, all your margins that are over here too, but you can also do it just by dragging. So if you're like, I really want a little bit more space here, you just drag the thing down and it'll give you the space that you need. And the same with the padding. If you're like, the padding on the inside of this needs to be just a little bit wider. So if you grab, there it is, and go, this is not going to do it for me now. For some reason I can't grab the padding. But in that case, if I just wanted to go in and just add 10, but now that there's some padding in there, I should be able to grab it pretty easily. Or not. Of course, it's not going to want to do, because I'm trying to show people. It's actually really funny because I've never not been able to get the padding. So, but I'm also, like I say, I'm using their templates, and one of the things that I noticed is like this here looks like a button, but I believe if we look at it, it's actually going to be a text link. Yeah, so they put their buttons as text links and then set background colors on them. I'm sure there was a reason for it, but so there was definitely, when you're using their preset templates, there's some learning curve of figuring out like what styles they chose so that you can make the adjustments that you want to make. If you build it from your scratch from yourself, obviously you know all of the settings that you put and the choices that you made. So if you wanted to delete an element, like let's say you didn't want this text here after all, you just simply hit the trash can and it's gone. It does give you the option to undo if you want. The undo only works pretty much for the first, like right when you delete the element, and then it'll go away within a little bit of time. So the one thing that I'm hoping they'll have in the future is an undo, because they don't have that yet. So the workaround that I have is that when I know I've got things the way I like it, I save it. And that way, if I do something and I don't like it, all I have to do is exit out to the admin without saving it and then come back into the page. And that saves me from having to try to figure out all the changes that I made and which ones I want to change backwards. The other nice thing is you can make reusable parts. So if you know that this call to action here is something that you're going to use over and over and over again, then when you go to the structure panel on the side and drop down, it gives you the option for you to make it reusable. and then so that you can set it into a library that you then have access to, and on any page you can put it in. And then when you make changes to the global version of it in the templates, that change will take effect everywhere that it's been displayed. But if you only want to change it in one page, you can change it directly in that page, and it won't affect the other aspects. They also, new to Oxygen, and this is a feature that I haven't played around with too much, is that it is now fully compatible with Gutenberg. So you can actually set this to a block too, and that way it's accessible. Like if you're building sites for clients, your clients can pick the call to action box and just put it onto their page when they're maintaining their page. They don't have to go into Oxygen and know how to use all of the features in there. So you can set certain elements that you know your clients are going to want to use again and put it up into Gutenberg as just a block that's easily put into the page without any problems. And then you can also set an entire page to be a Gutenberg page. And I'll show you that on this one here. This sample page, if I go to edit page, it's going to come up, and this is my WordPress backend. And in here I can start making adjustments to, I can change titles, I can change, the text, I can change where the background image comes from, so I can reset the background image. Any of these icons, I can change which icon I want to use. And I can also change any URLs, but I can't change the color of the button or the color of the text over here, the link thing. There are certain elements that are design-based elements that are kept in the back so that your clients don't break things. But they can go in and they can alter their text, their copy, their links, all of that stuff. And there's even a setting somewhere, I believe, where you can shut it down so that they can't even access Oxygen, so they don't get in there and break things on accident. So that's kind of nice. And then there's Modals, which allow you to do pop-ups, and you can get really granular with those as well. They can be as simple as an exit pop-up, or they can be click the button and the map and directions pops up into the middle of the screen, or you can add a transition or an animation to it. However you wanted to use, your pop-ups, you can trigger them based on how long someone's been on a page, whether they hit a certain element, the scroll distance. There's all the different settings that you would want for those. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like all of the main elements and aspects of, literally anything you can do in code, you can work it out in Oxygen. So if you're somebody who either doesn't code, doesn't want to code, but you want to have that control over exactly how your site works, or if you are working on client sites and you want to be able to get it done quicker, this is obviously pretty quick and fast as soon as you get familiar with the back end and where everything is at. So I just have a couple of things that I wrote up about the two newest additions to Oxygen, which was the addition again of the Guttenberg, and its assimilation into it. So like I was saying, you can design your blocks in Oxygen, and then you can use your blocks out in Guttenberg, and so it makes it really easy. You don't always have to go into the back end, because there is a little bit of a load lag. So even if it's not necessarily for client purposes, if it's just something that you're going to want to change text out or do things on or add to different pages, like maybe you put a call to action on the bottom of every blog post, then definitely I would put that in as a block, because it's going to dynamically load your template for your blog post. It's going to dynamically take your text out of Guttenberg and display it. And so then you can just throw the block at the bottom of it and not ever have to go into the back end on those. So it makes the maintenance part of it easier as well. Edits that are made to the original block update all uses across the site. So if you update your call to action with a different link, as long as you do it within the template of the block, it'll change everything. And then you can share your blocks across websites. It gets stored in your library, and then you can and I don't know exactly how that works, I just know that it does. And there's documentation to show you how to do it. But yeah, so if you have a call to action that you constantly use, you can put it across different websites, change the colors however you need to based on the sites. Very adaptable. And then the WooCommerce is the other piece that they added to it. So if you have an online store and you're doing the WooCommerce piece of it, you can instantly customize with the global styles. So if you have buttons in your store and you decide you need it to be a darker pink, you just change your global style, and throughout your entire store, all of your buttons just got dark pink on them. They have built-in templates for like a shop page, individual products, cart pages, checkout pages, my account pages. I can't remember, I've just put so much more because there's quite a bit. I haven't used WooCommerce a lot, so I don't have a lot of reference as to like what all's in there, but I have watched their demo that they did, and they were doing some really nice stuff as far as like individual product pages, making it a template so that they could, kind of set how big they wanted the product to display at and what colors the button was going to be and where it was going to go, and all of that then took place for every single product in their catalog. The changes that they made just right there, because it was doing it in a template format. So definitely speeds up a lot of those repetitive processes. They also have like repeaters, so if you have like a real estate site and you're constantly listing things like that, it'll dynamically pull that data and set it up on a repeater. You can set your blog posts up with, they call it Easy Post. It's the same thing, set your archive page and it'll automatically, and then you just set the template for that and it pulls everything in dynamically. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, that was kind of a big surface layer overview of what the features that are available are, and I'd like to answer if anybody has questions or wants to ask a little bit more details about specific items.
Yeah.
Just
So I've been trying my best to get into WordPress development, but I want to do it from scratch.
Yeah.
So would that be able to help, like, or would I have to hook it up to Oxygen, or does it just plug in and be like,
It would help, but it depends on kind of what your goals are. If your goal is to, you want to build a theme and you want to code it out, then Oxygen's not the tool, because it literally is, it becomes a theme. But if you want to use WordPress for a site and you want to be able to build it exactly the way you want it to look, and you just want to get it done quickly and not, learn the code part of it, then it would be an excellent tool for that.
Okay.
Yeah. And it has 3 layers to its pricing structure too. So the base layer has all of the features of Oxygen with the exception of Gutenberg and WooCommerce. So if you're never going to have a store and you don't see a need to have Gutenberg pages or Gutenberg blocks, those types of things, then you can buy just their base plan. It's like $99, lifetime license on unlimited websites.
okay,
So it's pretty inexpensive all in all, and you can use it forever.
Okay.
And in the other 2 tiers, I think it's $150 and $180 if you get the WooCommerce, and then if you get all 3.
Okay.
So it's pretty affordable, and if you're using it, like I built on a site that pulls 360 using Oxygen, and made a lot of the things that he wanted to have done come together pretty quickly. And I was even able to go in and add some custom jQuery to put together a calculator for him if he wanted to calculate how many hours people would save. And so I just used code blocks within the structure of the page, and then within the div that enclosed all of those code blocks, I added the jQuery and made the functionality work. That wasn't, out of the box in Oxygen. So makes it very flexible, and
Any tips for someone trying to make a theme from scratch? The way I've been trying to do it is I code in HTML, and then after that I just pull the HTML code and then copy and paste it to the PHP. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, I haven't built a whole theme from scratch. The only thing I've done is like some child theme work, which is more about the styling. So it's taking, the structure that's already there and just adding a layer of style on top of it to make the changes that I wanted to make specifically. But I haven't built from the ground up on the site.
Okay. Anyone else might have tips? Tips and tricks?
If only we had someone that built on WordPress.
What's that?
If only we had someone that built custom WordPress sites. And
I know, like somebody in the room who maybe had some.
Where's
Has
Virgil?
a backwards hat on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So nobody's
Just
here smells
throwing it out
custom
there.
WordPress themes?
Did you have another question, Joaquin, or no?
I was just kind of curious because, like, I've learned to build websites from scratch, I've been honest, but and then like people have always kind of been like telling me about WordPress is like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But like, if you're already using like I don't know like Bootstrap and stuff like that, would it be even like necessary to learn WordPress, or is it?
Again, WordPress is a tool that comes down to what your goals are, and I like it for like, for example, Anand and I had that conversation. Are we going to build from the ground? What are we going to do? But he wanted to be able to take his site and maintain it afterwards. He didn't want to have to pay for a developer to come in and make adjustments, or teach him how to make adjustments, or like that part wasn't something he wanted on his, his game
He
plan.
wanted a way to manage his content.
So for him, it was a nice fit because it allowed for us to build the pages the way he wanted them. But then now that he has it built, he can go in and make all of those quicker changes and adjustments without having to call me every time.
Yeah.
So he can fire you essentially.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. I still have some work to do. So I'm not terminated yet, but eventually.
Cool.
Yeah, and there are people who still want you to maintain web. They don't even want to deal with WordPress, but there are some nice things about having it as well.
Okay.
Just kind of where's your goals? That's kind of always the first question I ask. What's your goal?
I'm trying to get more proficient at blog building and portfolio making.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
WordPress would be perfect for that, for content, because I tried actually making a full WordPress admin panel. It's impossibly hard. So I'm trying to just do with an already built content management system.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm gonna go.
Tag me
Blogging.
in.
Tag you in. I'm gonna tag in.
Perfect.
John has a question or a comment.
You're supposed to come do all this, and I jump up and everything.
Yeah. WW
So,
style.
depending on your customer, it might make more sense to use WordPress,
Yeah.
right? If they have more time than money, you're gonna go WordPress. You're not gonna build something from scratch, unless you like giving your time out for free, right?
Yeah.
If they want to manage the content, they're not gonna go and learn how to code, so they're gonna use WordPress. WordPress is very user friendly. That's why it's more popular than Drupal or Joomla in most cases.
Yeah.
They have their own things that they're very good at. Like for example, Drupal, very good with security. Compared to WordPress, it's very good.
Yeah.
As far as building custom, you're doing it the right way. You first build the theme in HTML. You have your CSS, for example, Bootstrap. You can use there are libraries. CSS libraries, UIKit, Foundation, whatever library you want to use.
Modal,
And then you cut it up and you start adding the dynamic data with PHP.
Okay.
That's all it is, right? It's not very complicated. Where it becomes complicated to build with WordPress is when you start learning all the hooks, all the filters, all the actions. WordPress itself is more of a framework to build on top of. But I mean, it has two sides. It has one side for the developer that actually knows what he's doing, and then a side for like a freelancer that just wants to get the site done, and they just want to get something out the door, right?
Which is the front end with Oxygen Builder.
Yes and no, because if you power your site with this and a custom backend, you can build anything with that, and it saves you a lot more time, right? But you're doing that to save money,
Okay.
right? But it doesn't mean that you don't need to know what you're doing, because then if you don't know what you're doing and you break it, guess who you're gonna call to fix it? And I'm gonna charge you an arm and a leg, right? So,
Well, there's
yeah.
also even just elements about, like, as far as breaking it, like stylistically, if you don't have a really good understanding of how CSS works, and what to put where, and what is padding versus margin, and like all of those things,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
like
can
text
get your way
smashed
around
up.
it, but Oxygen's you're gonna be a little slower going than somebody who's coming in already kind of understanding those concepts.
Yeah.
So it's a really great tool. I don't know if it's the right tool for everyone for those purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Google. Know everything.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much.
Love the presentation.